Welcome back to another episode of Silent Pals Stay at Home and Watch Movies. I'm here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hi, guys.
And today we're going to be reviewing Tesla. And just fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. A freewheeling take on a visionary inventor Nikola Tesla and his interactions with Thomas Edison and J.P. Morgan's daughter Anne and his breakthrough in transmitting electrical power and light. I guess I can start off by saying that some of the cast are well known and it's nice to see them in this time period movie and dress appropriately. Also, the topic of the movie is Nikola Tesla, which there is not much information of him to go around, but with that, the movie has the creativity card to make up a story as long as it holds water. I mean, Tesla is an interesting individual to say the least. He's well known for some things, but not a lot of details of his personal life unless you read journals of his friends talking about him. I also like that in this movie, the narration was being done by Anne Morgan, the character. Also, how she refers to searching online for the names of Tesla, Edison, and then comparing the search results of each one, saying that there's a lot of results for Edison, but not a lot for Tesla, and there's very little known about him. So she's basically being our bridge from our world into their world. Also, I really enjoyed how she kind of set up the movie in some scenes saying this never really took place and how they took liberties to showing that in a comical sense. For example, the ice cream cone when Edison and Tesla got in a fight and they were just shoving ice cream in their face. That never took place, but it kind of was a free reign that the movie took. Also, the scene where Edison speaks to Tesla during the Chicago World's Fair, and Edison shows him his invention with the moving pictures as Tesla is looking into the machine. In the background, we can see Edison is sitting on the counter pulling out a smartphone. This is things that never really happen, and Anne says that, but at the same time, when we see this, we see all these little modern things in the movie. At the same time, most of these items can be traced to Tesla's inventions. So now moving on to my cons, it seems like the movie couldn't really make up its mind if they were going down the documentary style route for the film or going down the loosely based film about Tesla or even a rival film between Edison and Tesla, or just making up a movie with scenes or skits to make up jokes while presenting some facts. Also, I really didn't like when they used the projections as backgrounds. That really took me out of the film. I know it was meant to be artistic, but it felt really out of place. I mean, this movie had too many elements, so it really couldn't find itself. I want to say it's a film that was lost. To me, it seemed like it was a draft. Also, the ending was too open. I wanted a clean, neatly wrapped conclusion, maybe ending with some ideas of how Tesla influenced the future or the internet, cell phones, or even people or companies, and say that he wasn't looking for wealth, but to leave inventions to inspire people or the future generations to keep inventing based off his inventions. So I guess with that, I'm going to pass it on to my friend Touly and see how he saw this movie and what grade he gave the movie.
I do agree with Sal and what he said about the movie and the direction it was trying to go in, or should I say the struggle of it trying to be a sort of like documentary sort of film, but have that sort of standard Hollywood kind of storytelling incorporated into it as well. And I felt that this sort of flip-flopping throughout the film, although at certain points I was engrossed and maybe either the informational side when Anne was informing the audience as to what happened to Edison or Tesla, presenting those things as facts. Those were great because, things that I never knew about and maybe see these guys in a different light. And then, of course, we get sort of like the amusing side, kind of like what Sal said as well, where we get moments where it's like comical relief, scenes that actually didn't happen in history, but maybe served as a way to just give the movie more personality. Because I think for me, when I saw the sort of tension between Tesla and Edison, I was sort of getting vibes like for the movie Ford and Ferrari in a sense, where I thought this movie was going to be about the fight for dominance between these two individuals. I would say the introduction got me on board. Definitely sense how much Edison had control over the country in terms of what he provided and how he belittled Tesla and how Tesla was trying to make efforts to bring his inventions and its way of efficiency to the world, and his strive for improvement, not just for the current times, but for the future to come. And so I thought the movie did an okay job with that. But again, just to go back to the idea of the movie flip-flopping between this sort of documentary style and Hollywood entertainment sort of style, I wish they would have just stuck with one style, because I felt, for example, some of the scenes just didn't connect as well, because I felt like those were more of like a documentary style, how they were informing us as to what happened to Edison and Tesla. There were very segmented moments in their lives as to where Tesla stood, where Edison stood at this moment in history, and how Tesla slowly overcame Edison's dominance. But the transition between these moments made me sort of want more explanation or more lead up versus, oh, now we jump forward this much after such and such has happened. And if you ask me which style I would have preferred, I think I would have said the documentary, because even though Anne presented some scenes that didn't actually take place, and them being kind of comical or maybe offer some sort of closure to the tension that was between Tesla and Edison. In particular, I'm talking about the scene where Edison apologized to Tesla. If that had actually happened, I would have welcomed it, because okay, this is them making up and them trying to better the world. But for Anne to just present it in this sort of light where it's like, okay, that never happened, but we presented to you anyway, maybe for that amusement factor. Overall, I feel like I didn't actually need that scene, because they could have used that time in the movie to actually fill in maybe some of the gaps that I felt the movie needed. So the way I kind of looked at this is either they didn't have enough content for them to sort of present the film, again, in this sort of combo style documentary and the standard Hollywood film. Because of that, I think that's why I'm leaning more towards the documentary side, if they just stuck to that style, because then they could have been a little more all over the place, and I would have been okay with that, because it would have fit that particular style of a movie. Versus if you're going to do the whole standard typical storytelling, then things need to happen in a certain order, and you need to develop certain characters and give these characters enough attention so that when certain things happen, I can tag along with them. So I appreciate the effort, and I appreciate the information that was presented to me, because if the facts that they presented in this film are actually facts, then I did come out of this film knowing more about Edison and Tesla, because at the end of the day, I felt like Tesla's character was just as important as Edison's character, and I needed this rivalry to sort of drive the movie from start to finish, because towards the end of the film, it was primarily about Tesla, and given that his personality wasn't very strong, it was more towards what he was trying to do to sort of carry us to the finish line. But seeing him go back to JP Morgan and ask for more money, again with the gaps in time between his personal struggle of trying to develop these inventions with the investments from JP Morgan, I didn't really buy into that, because I didn't feel like Tesla showed enough emotion for me to buy into it. I could see that he was struggling for sure, like I noticed it. I suppose if maybe they took a little more liberty and hadn't shown more emotion, then it would at least got me to think, okay, here is a guy who wasn't kind of like Edison at the beginning, but started to become like Edison in this sort of confident but not very good at projecting his ideas and emotions onto paper so that people can actually see what it is that he's feeling and stuff. I think maybe that's something that I would have appreciated more, because as Anne sort of said towards the end of the film, here was a guy who was probably years ahead of his time, where he saw a future that we currently are living in. I suppose that was supposed to be profound in some way, but I never felt that way though. If they kept the film to just being informational as a documentary, then I think they could have avoided a lot of these situations. All in all then, I'm going to give the film a 5 out of 10. It's an okay film. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Like I said, I came out of this film knowing more about Tesla and Edison.
I agree with you. I also saw this movie more as a documentary style, and I would really appreciate it if they took it in and made it their own in a documentary style, especially when they suggested that when one of his helpers suggested that Tesla had seen the idea years before and he drew it on the ground, and then Tesla says, I have it in my head. Well, there is information saying that Tesla would read stuff and he would be able to absorb all this information and recall it, the same idea as he would see all his invention in his head and it would take time for him to actually write it down on a piece of paper. I would appreciate it if they would have shown him talk about one of his invention, and as he's imagining it, it's on the table, and then you see the little gadgets move in and out as sort of being dismantled, so we can see his thought process. I know it's not accurate, but how the movie took liberties, it would have been a very interesting visual that we could have seen on his side versus Edison, who was in it for the money, to make more money. Tesla was the kind of guy who said, I just want to make this to better the world, because in one of the scenes he did say, I want electricity for everybody who needs it. Out in nowhere, they can have access to this free energy. So to me, this movie did fall short. Also, the acting by Ethan Hawke did fall a little bit short. It did kind of make me feel that he was making Tesla seem like kind of a hermit that didn't want to talk or go out. While maybe it could have been true in this movie, he should have been a little bit more outspoken to show Tesla's side to go against Edison. That's basically what Touly said. It's a movie that we wanted to see Tesla versus Edison, even though the title just says Tesla, but that's what the movie presented. It was a struggle between both sides. My final grade for this movie would be a 4.5 out of 10. So I guess that does it for this review of Tesla. Please join us next time where we're going to review Godzilla versus King Kong.
Got one question. Tap or no tap?
No tap.
Excuse me, what is tap?
Water. They put fluoride in it. Learned it from the Nazis.
Theory is it makes you docile, easy to manipulate.
I drink tap water.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.